passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on, so Nuoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the down pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. And the Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once more. It is the UkSimracers MX5 Season 2 of 2024, and it is round one of the summer season. I am James Parfitt. I'm going to be joined in the booth by Mr. Thomas Cairnes here this evening, who will be coming along and joining us for what plans to be some epic evening of racing. We are here at the Sebring International Raceway, 3.7 miles, 5.954 kilometers in length. This circuit layout has been going since 2019. The track itself, well, it's been around a while, this Sebring, to be blatantly honest. It started construction in 1941, in June 1941. Construction crews moved in and began creating the runways and the barracks with a network of buildings. The track itself, however, was running from around about 1950, a completely different layout to what we have today. So pay attention, look out for that one, because I can tell you one thing, the track hasn't changed much. In fact, it's got bumpier, it's got more robust, it's got walls that are very unforgiving. There's a little bit of off tracks off the side, but they will have to be a little bit careful. Now, we want to bring you up to date with what's happened for the end of the first season. Okay, so this is the combined championship spring season results. Tom Griffiths is your overall winner, with Dan Hunt not too far apart there. You can see it's only 9 points back. Jamie Ayres and Pete Van Gaal wrap up third and fourth. Pete Newman takes in fifth, with Ralph Cullen in sixth. Jamie Wilson in seventh. Steve Hefford got eighth in the end, with Miles Owens in ninth. Now, Charles Kellerman wrapped up the AND Championships ahead of Colin Sampson. Now, he only took the win by literally about 14 points in the end, which isn't that much in a series like this. And then you go into Darrell Wright, Martin Sampson, Fiona Siddons, Andy Littler, Alan Toon, John Sylvester, Mick Barry, Steve Hansford, Ewan Bramer, Callum McPherson, Darren McLean, Arnold Chonier, Craig Jones, Dan Dennison, Dan Lewis, Ollie Ricks, and then Roger Morton on the bottom. In the team standings overall on this one, it is now Momo out in front on 3901, Results Clothing on 2798, with Optical Green on 2369, Work Guide by Result on 2284 as we change over into qualifying, then DOF Reality on 1652, Pure Sims 1431, then we've got Team Chimera, Year 1, SimRacers Sweden, Esports and Safeguard by Results, with Aerokinetics at the bottom. We can bring Tom into the booth now. We'll have a chat with him and see how he is. Good evening, young Tom. How are you, dear sir?
Thank you very much, James. Hello to everyone. We begin the summer season of this Mazda MX5 Championship with the SimRacers heading out onto the circuit. Now, for your information, we've got some of those in the Pro category and some of those in the AM. They begin their 15-minute qualifying session. You can see the clock is ticking down already. They're on their outlap. We've got 4 races lined up, each of them being 15 minutes long. In terms of the grids for them, well, they'll work out differently to each other. Race 1 will be determined by the grid. So the race 1 grid will be determined by the qualifying times in this session. So, James, we've got the Sebring circuit, which did once host Formula 1 all the way back in the 1950s, I believe. I think it's Sebring's located in Florida, so it's not the first race circuit in Florida. So Miami's not the first race in Florida to host a Formula 1 race. In fact, it was Sebring all those years ago, but it's a much different circuit now compared to back then. And I'm sure these drivers will be very much experienced around this particular configuration. It's a brilliant circuit. Lots of overtakes can be done. We've seen in other series on this iRacing game cycle, if you want to call it that. What are you looking out for then, James? It's the summer season. How much rustiness are we expecting from these drivers?
Well, to be fair, I'm not expecting that much. I think they will be okay, because let's face it, they've only had 2 weeks off, right? You know, it's not since the end of the last season, and they've taken off week 13, and then we've been back a week later. So it's not been too bad. Now, obviously, we've got some returning drivers into the series as well. Ollie Ricks has rejoined us for this season with Roger Morton, who's come along again, but we've got the same old guard, the likes of Sir Alan Toon, Colin Sampson, Steve Hefford's here as well, Dan Hunt, Charles Kellerman, Jamie Wilson, you know, all of these people. So they all know how to race together. So I'm not expecting anything dramatic, but I am expecting the Ullman Straight to provide some great racing, as I've seen with these guys before.
Very much so, and the Ullman Straight is where we expect to see a lot of the overtaking happening into Sunset Bend, the last corner before the pit straight. And there's a lot of other areas, including the hairpin turn, where we expect some overtaking being done there. And we've got some drivers that are beginning their fast laps. I don't know if they've got their tyres up to the optimum temperature, so don't expect these first lap times to be the quickest we see, bearing in mind some of these drivers are within Pro and others are in AM. In terms of the number of drivers involved, I believe we have 15, 6 from Pro and 9 from AM, unless we've had a few more join whilst this show got underway. We've got the likes of Dan Hunt, Pete Van Gool, Steve Hefford and Jamie Wilson all on fast laps. So I'll let you take the lead on how they are getting on here, James, because they are very much getting into the groove after their practice running not too long ago.
Yeah, because of the length of lap times being 2 minutes 20, give or take around here, they are going to take quite a while to get there. You know, they've got their 15 minutes. They're not going to get many laps in. Don't forget, guys, as well, when these guys have an accident in quali and they go back to the pits, they cannot return out. Their qualifying is done. It is as close to real life as we can possibly get on a simulator. Now, PVG there, as we all know him. Ty's welcome in. Thanks so much for joining us. Darryl Wright, I brought my coat and my umbrella. Low chance of rain, dear sirs. I think you might be all right there as well. Ty says it's going to be a good night. Hopefully, Ty is Pete's nephew. So Uncle Pete Van Gaal is Ty's Van Gaal. As we can see Steve Hefford in the background just going completely round. The time should start coming in. As I say, they will be more and more and more as they go along, and they will get quicker and quicker and quicker. So let's just keep an eye out. They've only got about a 3-lap window on these tyres before they start dropping off, and then we get that stagnation where they just cannot find that temp for 1,000th. And I think that's the thing, Tom. You can get the maximum amount of tyres for about the first 2, maybe 3 laps, but because of the makeup of the circuit being asphalt and concrete, by the end of that, the best part of them tyres is all done.
Yeah, very much so. So they've got to make it count, these first few laps, even though they've got 10 minutes to go. In regards to the lap times we saw in practice, they don't have a lot of chances. So it's a matter of how much you are willing to push at the time of which you do, because the track is going to pick up, as it so ever does so, when there's more and more cars out on circuit. More and more rubber is being laid down everywhere you look. As we see, Pete Van Gaal has set the fastest time so far. It's a 2 minutes 26. He's been able to post. More and more times are coming through as they are. It's the next time around, I expect those lap times to come down. But yes, like you say, in relation to how the surface has been laid here at the Sebring International Raceway, how are the drivers going to look after their tyres during these first few runs? How much are you willing to conserve for those later laps?
I don't think they will, to be honest. I think the fact that we've got 15 minutes, they can go out there, they're going to get, probably 6 laps at the most. So they've just got to, I think they're going to go full bore. The problem is the optimals. It's going to take a lap to get them up to temperature, then it's going to take a couple of laps in their optimals, and then by the time they get to the end, they start dropping off. So we might see some incidents towards the end and at the beginning. In the middle, well, that will just be people's making mistakes, unfortunately, and that will be the situation with it. So let's see how they get on. I think they might be all right. They all know this circuit, right? You do the Sebring 12 hours in iRacing. They all know it. I'm sure these guys have gone out and done endurances here as well. They've all driven different cars at times in their iRacing career, like we've all done. We've all had to start off in rookies and move our way up that way. So they've all been here, Tom. So I don't think they're going to have really mass problems remembering where to go and what to do and when to brake. But I think it's just gonna be the long runs. If we start getting 2 or 3 wides down the Ullman Straight, who's gonna back out as they go into the final corner, or is anybody backing out as they go into Sunset? That's gonna be their main issue.
Well, if they've made a mistake on this lap, it may be worth just backing out of it and go again, providing you've got tyres left to do another run. We're looking at Dan Hunt now, aiming to improve on 7th position overall and 3rd in the AM class. And I'm not sure if he did... Oh, yeah, he did improve. He went straight to the top, did Dan Hunt. It might be in Pro, actually, but it's difficult to tell because we are looking at Dan.
He is in Pro.
Focusing on... Yeah, he is in Pro. Okay, so he's gone straight to the top, albeit temporarily because Steve Hefford went there, and now Ralph Cullingham has made his way to P1. So it goes back to what I was saying. The lap times are going to come down lap by lap until these tyres really start falling away, James.
Yeah, that's Pete Newman on the left-hand side there. I'm not entirely sure who has just stopped, but whoever has just stopped on the race circuit, that has just literally killed somebody else. That is Darryl Wright. I'm not entirely sure what's happened to Darryl. Doesn't look like he's got much drive. There's a Pure Sims car in the wall. I'm wondering if that is Steve Hefford. Not Steve Hefford, sorry. That might be Pete Newman stuck on the outside in that 118 machine. He's got a teammate of Roger Morton in a 92 machine here today. So that's going to be, we normally just have one Pete Newman Pure Sims. We've now got 2. So Pete is the 118, Roger Morton is the 92. So we'll see how these guys can get on as they go through. They've got about 6 minutes of qualifying. The Irishman of Ralph Cullinan on pole at the moment. Ralph last season, Tom, I know you weren't here, but obviously he just got better and better and better. His consistency was more and more and more, and that's why he's ended up where he's ended up in the championship. You know, he was 6th overall in the end, and I think as he gets better and better and better, he's got a chance of really moving that car forward, and it's showing here today with him taking pole position.
And it's also understanding how the Mazda MX5 works for him, because you know, in relation to how these cars work, it works for some drivers over others. Sometimes it can take a bit of time to really understand how this machine works. It's understanding the attitude of the car, how it responds to how you want it to take on in the corners. And really, during the course of the spring season, Ralph Cullingham has somehow got better and better as the championship has gone on. So that has put him in quite a prime position going into the sort of summer period where it can really build on going forward from here. So Steve Hefford running in P2 at the moment. He's less than a 10th away from Cullingham's time, and I don't know if he's actually improving on this lap, but I think we are beginning to see the tyres falling away unless some of them have managed to conserve some tyres for another lap.
Yeah, Steve Hefford in that number 2 machines in the middle has got 2 greens, 2 yellows and purple, and just finished off with a couple of yellows. Is it going to be an improvement on the 226? That's going to be the question. It is not an improvement on the 226. So unfortunately for Steve Hefford there, no improvement on that time around. He did an actual 228.96, so he's going to have to go again. The drivers at the bottom, of course, we've got Steve Hansford, Sir Alan Toon out on the racetrack as well. Sir Alan probably celebrated, if I remember correctly, his 71st birthday this year as well. So he's good old Sir Alan Toon. So he's still out there racing and doing an amazing job as he always does. We've got no time on the board for Roger Morton at the moment. He's down in 16th. Mick Bowery is not taken to the track, so we're not sure if he's going to actually make this one. But this is the time now, as you can see, that the times are stagnating. They're just obviously being that, trying to find that 10th, that 1000th, that little bit, Tom, that they don't always find when at the beginning of the race. Right, we're going to get this underway. We've got 3.5 minutes remaining of qualifying there, And we've got Pete Van Gaal, we've got 3 greens and a yellow on the board currently at the moment. Tom, what do we think is likely to happen in race 1? Do we think it's going to be nice and clean for these guys?
I think given the nature of this circuit, I would expect to see a few bumps here and there, and I think it's a matter of who can survive that first bit of the race. I think the drivers will want to settle down, but the temptation to really go for it at the start is very much high. So I'd expect to see a few drivers spinning around, and hopefully they'll continue, but it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think we'll have to play it by ear and see how these guys get on and whether or not they will survive this race. I know most of them do. But let's see what happens, as you just never quite know here what goes on with these guys. And Sebring itself, as bumpy as it is, and it is bumpy at times, it can cause you a mass problems. So we'll keep an eye out and see how these guys get on. I'm just checking up on that, Ties, as well, because you got me thinking now about Alan Toon's birthday. I know that sounds quite bizarre, but he's been around a while with Sir Alan Toon. I know he was above 70. I'll just see him when he's can't find it. Never mind. He's above 70 anyway, Tom, which, to be fair, to be still sim racing at 70 plus is absolutely amazing for him.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm sure he's enjoying it, every bit of it, whilst he can. And that reminds me, actually, from the weekend at Montreal, where a former racer by the name of Mary McGee, who raced during her career up until about 12 years ago. I think she's 87 now, and she got the joy of meeting Sir Lewis Hamilton, of all people. It was probably the most harmonious thing we have had during the course of 2024, and that's lovely to see.
Yes. Didn't she... Oh, what did she race in?
I think it was like motorbikes, but I think she's the only woman to have completed what's called the Barja 500 or something like that. She's the only woman to have completed it solo.
Yeah, she bought her first motorcycle in 1957. Wow. That's a long time ago. First woman to race in a US MSFIM standard sanctioned motorcycle race in the US in the 1960s. First woman to finish the Baja 1000, as you said. First woman to road race motorcycles in the US. First woman to race motocross in the US. First woman to compete with Europeans in international motocross in the US. And the only woman to ride the Baja 500 solo in 1975. So there we go. Fair play to her. She's done quite a lot, shall we say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair play to her. Right, we're coming into the final 13 seconds of qualifying. No real improvements to shout home about. Darren Hunt has got 3 greens and 3 yellows, depending on what the offset is, of course. How is he going to do as he's going down to the line? He's not going to get it done. So that will be qualifying over and done with. We will bring you up the grid from race number 1. And it will be on the front row will be Ralph Cullinan and Steve Hefford. There on row 2, Dan Hunt, Colin Sampson. On row 3, Pete Newman and Pete Van Gaal. On row 4, Charles Kellerman and Darrell Wright. On row 5, we'll have Jamie Wilson and Darren McLean. On row 6, Andy Littler and Roger Morton. And on row 7, Fiona Siddons and Ollie Ricks. On row 8, it would be Sir Alan Toon and Steve Hansford. And I'm not too sure if Mick Barry's going to take it, but take to the start of the race. But if he will be at the back of this evening's grid. So we'll keep an eye out and see what happens, but I don't think Mick Barry is going to make it. The weather at the moment, well, 29 degrees out on the track temp, 27 on the air temp, and it's 9:35 in the morning, so it's quite cool here in Sebring. So let's see how these guys get on. We're just waiting for Charles Kellerman to get onto the grid and ready to go. As I say, I don't believe Mick Barry's going to make it, and we will see what goes on. The first race of the evening will be up and running very, very shortly. The lights will be coming up. Sit back, grab your drinks, grab your popcorns. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's green, green, green for the UK SimRacers MX5 round 1 of their summer season from Sebring, and it is Ralph Cullinan out in front at the moment as he's going down into turn 1. He's got Steve Hefford pressurising in. Dan Hunt's on the left-hand side. He's got Colin Sampson wrapped up behind him with Pete Newman coming up the inside as well. But Cullinan holds on that run out of turn 1 as they're heading up now into the left-hander of turn 2 before they go into 3 and then out of 3 into 4. It's a great move from Ralph Cullinan. He got the job done at the start there, Tom. He did the most important thing. He got away cleanly. He held the start as they're on the run round Gurney Bend.
Yeah, absolutely. Cullinan defended his line ahead of Hefford heading into the first corner of the racetrack, and Dan Hunt maintaining his third place at Colin Sanson, who's crucially ahead of all those in the AM class. But Cullinan in the lead, but Hefford is looking to make a move into the hairpin turn, but Cullinan keeping hold of the inside line and remaining in front of the red and yellow livery machine, and is giving himself a little bit of a buffer at this stage. Just be right on board with the number 7 of Dan Hunt as he makes his way through, looking to the inside of Hefford as they come towards the right-hander, a sharp right-hander as they head towards there. He's up the inside of Hefford and then looks to have completed the overtake, but Hefford is still keeping his foot in there and remarkably keeping hold of his second position.
Yeah, not the most ideal line up through Cunningham, the inside. Unfortunately, it tightens it up, but he should be able to get a nice little run out here now as well. Dan Hunt bounces the curb. He gets that move on his way. How's he going to get on? Well, he's got the ever-improving Colin Sanson right up behind him with Pete Van Gaal in there, Pete Newman, Charles Kellerman chasing on to the back as well. We've got Roger Morton having a little bit of a ding-dong with Andy Littler and Ollie Ricks. Them guys are continually fighting it out now, down through Le Mans and on to the Oldman for the opening time. This is where you're going to see the draft play a massive part. Cullinan goes to the right-hand side. Is he going to go back to the left? He's got to try and break the draft somehow, but he's also got not gonna... Oh, don't allow Hefford up the inside. Coming into sunset now. Cullinan's given up the inside. Steve Hefford's going to be able to get it. Can Cullinan run the outside? He's not. Is he going to be able to hold on to that second place, or is Dan Hunt going to come up? Steve Hefford's gone very, 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 very wide there. Now they're going to be 3 wide down the start-finish straight here, Tom.
Yeah, Cullinan made a really poor error by not defending the inside line early enough, and that allowed Hefford alongside, and Cullinan ran out too far out wide and allowed Dan Hunt to head through. And what made it even better for Dan is that Steve Hefford made a mistake of his own at the end of the bend to make his way through into the lead almost, although Cullinan looks to be back on the inside into the first turn of this race course on the second lap, and he's going to take back the lead of this one. Yeah,
Cullinan battles his way back now. Now they go round the left-hander at the top of the racetrack before that run round Gurney Bend down into the hairpin. It's Ralph Cullinan, the Irishman, out in front here. He's managing to hold on to that lead with Dan Hunt in second, Steve Hefford there, Pete Van Gaal nestling his way in fourth, Colin Sanson leading the AMs at the moment in fifth overall. Hunt's going to try the outside line. Is Cullinan going to open up the steering just a little bit, give Hunt something to think about? He still manages to hold on. Hunt still manages to get the run though. Through the Fangio chicane they go, then coming into Cullinan corner. Ralph Cullinan on the right hand side coming into Cullinan. He's on the left there as you look at the screen on that number 32 machine. Ralph Cullinan takes the inside line. Is he going to open it up? He's not. Dan Hunt's going to do the muscle. There's a little bit of contact there as well. A little bit of door rubbing. Hunt's trying to close Cullinan off. Cullinan's not giving up. Hefford's in there. He's having a good old ding dong once more. But Ralph Cullinan here, Tom, boy oh boy, has he got some fight on him this evening.
It's almost like dodgings, but in a good way. They are leaving each other as much room as possible. There is a little bit of argy-bargy, but you kind of have to expect that with these Mazda MX5. So it's contact, mate.
He's coming back on. Oh! Ralph come back on and absolutely torpedoed Colin Sanson. You see him make the contact. There was a little bit of contact with Dan Hunt. That's unsettled the car. He's tried to steer it back on, and poor Colin Sanson had no idea. But there was Ralph Cullinan absolutely torpedoed in there, Tom, as well, as he's trying to recover back on the racetrack.
Sanson will have picked up damage from that. Cullinan back in the pits, and that's his race done. What a shame after a brilliant qualifying and building up the morale from the back end of the spring season into the summer campaign. And that has not gone off to the best of starts for him this time around. And that hands the lead over to Dan Hunt and Steve Heather, who are 1 and 2. Pete Van Gool's up in 3rd place now, ahead of Pete Newman, Charles Kellyman, as a result of Colin Sanson's collision with Cullinan, is now the leader of the AM drivers.
Yeah, Charles Kellerman leading the AMs. He wrapped up the AM Championship last time around. He is out in front. He'll be looking to get his second season up and running really well, and that's going to have helped Colin Sanson and Ralph Cullinan there. Not entirely sure Ralph really had much to do with anything. He was trying to steer it back onto the racetrack and just unfortunately slid and went bang straight into Colin Sampson on board with a Pure Sims man of Pete Newman. He's going to try and dive up the inside. Steve Heffer's trying to make a move over Dan Hunt up in front. We got PVG, Steve Heffer, Dan Hunt, Pete Newman, Charles Kellerman is leading a pack of himself, Jamie Wilson and Darryl Wright, as these guys are battling away for the final top 7 position. Darryl Wright and Jamie Wilson side by side there. There is the Team Chimera car behind us as we're going into Cunningham now. Is he going to try the undercut? He's not. Darryl Wright is off. I'm wondering now, Tom, if there was contact.
It looks like there was contact, so we'll just have a look on the replay to see if there's actually anything going on. And yes, there was. Slight nudge.
Slightest nudge there, wasn't it, unfortunately, on Darryl Wright. So that puts Darryl Wright down the order. Ralph Cullen and Colin Sampson are into the pits after their earlier spectacular collision as we're on lap 3. Oh, Pete Newman. Oh, Newman's gone round as well. Over the curb he went, unsettled the car, and unfortunately that's putting him now all the way down into 10th. Is he going to make it out before Fiona Siddons? Only just. Pete Newman, well, actually does lose that place to Fiona Siddons as well there. Just too much curb on that one for Pete Newman, and unfortunately sent him round.
Some drivers pushing a little bit too hard and too early as they are trying to push so early on. We're only coming towards the end of the 3rd lap, so one of the tyres from some of the drivers are beginning to fall away at this early stage of the race. The track is cool, so it's not quite at its window where we expect the tyres to be eaten for breakfast from this course. Kellerman is back into the lead of the AM class now, as well as Steve Hefford looks to go for the lead on Dan Hunt into the first turn. Hunt is still there alongside, but it looks like Hefford is going to have the high ground, and he's due into the lead, James.
Yeah, Steve Hefford takes up the lead from Dan Hunt with his Momo teammate PVG behind. They've opened up 4.2 seconds over Jamie Wilson, who's got Charles Kellerman and Darren McLean scrapping it out. Roger Morton's made his way up 5 places into 7th, 3rd overall in class. There, Roger part of the Pure Sims team this year with Pete Newman. So great job from him. With Steve Hefford, Dan Hunt side by side. Now they're going down into the hairpin, the 72 Momo machine. There you can tell it's Steve. He's got the bright yellow roll bar and wheels. Pete's got the white and wheels with the white wheels, and Jamie Ayres has got the black with the black wheels. There's no Jamie Ayres by what I can see here this evening, but these guys having a right little ding dong. Hunt's on the inside. Hefford's going to try and go around the outside of Cunningham. He's got to try and hold it off now. Steve's got to put the power down, manages to hold on there, Tom. That's a tough job to go up the inside there. Dan Hunt was trying, but we've seen it fail for the last few times.
Yeah, and Pete Van Gool's waiting to pounce. He's been quiet in this race so far, but he's waiting for any opportunity. He's waiting for an open door to make his way through in the safest manner possible and go for the win here, and that looks like he's going to do it here by going past Dan Hunt.
Yeah, Hunt nestles in, he comes across to where he takes that second position again. Now through the right-hander they go, coming into Lamont. The right-hander now before they run down that Ullman straight. Hunt's got the bit between his teeth. You saw he got a run out there as well. This is Steve Hefford on our left-hand side as we roll on to the gyro cam, looking at Steve directly as he's still failing. Is Dan Hunt going to get this lead down on into Sunset. Is Steve going to make the right move? Is he going to be able to get that car stopped? We've already seen one mistake from him again. It looks like he's got in a little bit too hot. That's going to allow Pete Van Gaal to come through. Same mistake for Steve Hefford there, Tom. Same result, losing positions.
Yeah, it was a repeat of what he did at the end of the first lap, where he just simply ran far too deep into Sunset, into the sort of exit phase of the corner, and that has opened the door for Pete Van Gaal to move into second place, and Van Gaal fancies his chance with Dan Hunt this time for the race lead.
Yeah, Pete's having a good old scrap with Dan. He's going to try the inside line going into the left-hander. Is he going to be able to hold on? Hunt gives him room, but only so much, and then he takes it across and chops his nose off. Andy Littler has unfortunately had to enter into the pit lane. All three of the cars over the curb and over the gravel there, Tom. That could have been all three wiped out in one foul swoop.
It very easily could have been. I mean, all of them pushing hard as they ever are, and Van Gaal looking to the outside as they come towards the hairpin turn. I don't know if he's going to be able to make a move. We don't see overtakes round the outside unless you've got your nose in front, and now they're heading through Fangio, and soon will be the Cunningham bend. And Van Gaal is taking his time with this, James. He's not rushing it, but they've only got 4 minutes to make up as much ground as possible. Pete Van Gaal taking it very, very easy so far. He's going up the outside, or round the outside, I should say, on Dan Hunt as they approach Cunningham. And is Pete Van Gaal alongside? It looks like he's done it, James. He's through.
Oh, Pete's muscled his way through there. Dan Hunt just got pushed out of Cunningham. Now they're coming into the right-hander of Tower Bend. PVG with Dan Hunt wrapped up behind him. Steve Evans onto the gravels, taking that very, very wide line. Full pace. I can guarantee he is not slowing down one iota on that grass on the outside. In fact, he's coming through to take second place after being off the side of the circuit. Is he going to be able to hold it, though? Hunt's going to have the inside. Coming through the run into Le Mans now, and it is PVG, Dan Hunt and Steve Hefford. Steve Hefford was not lifting there, Tom, whatsoever on that grass.
Well, I was going to say, how much grip did he find on the grass to somehow stay alongside Pete Van Gaal on the exit of Cunningham? That was quite astonishing, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He just kept full board, didn't he? He was not lifting whatsoever here. And PVG is through, holding on to the lead. Dan Hunt has to check up. Dan's going to come at him again. Coming out the final corner, Steve Hefford's going to have a run. This could well be, is this going to be the final lap? It's going to be very, very, very close. Barney's not waving. There's going to be one and one more. These guys going 3 wide. Steve Hefford's going to slot up in the front now. He cuts off the nose of Dan Hunt. He's on the brakes. Is he going to be able to get that MX5 stop? Dan's coming in once more at him. He's going to get the run around the outside of PVG here. There's three-way battle for the lead, and we've still got one and one more to go here, Tom.
Van Gaal backed out of it on the exit of the first turn. It was not worth fighting with Hefford and Hunt. He just wants both Hefford and Hunt to fight with each other. I think he knows that there's 2 laps to go in this race, so it's not going to be decided on this lap. It's going to be decided next time around. Van Gaal playing the long game here, as he has been since the start of this race.
Yeah, he's just been sat there waiting patiently as PVG. He knows he's going to have one and one more. It's not the final lap. It will be, depending on how much these guys slow each other down. Through the hairpin they go. On the right hand, and now the run up through the Fangio chicane. It's that long chicane that goes right, and then it goes left. It's not really a chicane, but that's what they've called it. Steve Evans now takes the lead. Now Hunt's coming back at him. Into Cunningham they go. Hunt's going to have the inside line. PVG's now going to come at Steve Hefford. He's going to run around the outside. No contact there again, Tom, as well. But coming into Tower Turn, this is going to be some run down the Ulman Straight if this is going to be the final lap of the race.
Well, this could ultimately decide it, but I think we'll still have one more tour, depending on how much time we've got left by the time they get around. But the more they battle, the more time it consumes. So who knows? It might just be the last lap, but it's going to be...
It's going to be very close. Yep, it's going to be very close. They've got 40 seconds to get down the Ulman and round the corner. So let's see whether or not these guys are battled enough that they've cost themselves time. Steve Hefford's going to try and slot in once more behind PVG. Then you've got Dan Hunt out in front at the moment, but here they come now. They've split like the red arrows. It's now going to almost try and go 3 wide into the corner. Pete Van Gogh's got to throw it in. Dan Hunt's got to throw it in. I think there could be one more. They've got about 10 seconds to get round the final corner, and it is going to be one more run. I think they are going to have one more. There's Barney waving the white flag. They did it with 3 seconds remaining there, Tom.
Yeah, I thought they would get over the line in time, but only just though. Hunt needs to maintain this now ahead of Van Gogh and Hefford. This is going to come down, I think, all the way to Sunset Bend and maybe a drag race to the line. Hefford tried a tactic there, like a premature tactic, to see how much of ground he would make up by going wide at Sunset and gaining all the traction and speed down the pit straight. That could be something to remember the next time they come round. But at the moment, it's Dan who's in front of Van Gogh and Hefford. Charles Kellerman is the leader of all those in the AM class, with McLean and Morton fighting over P2 in that respective category.
Yeah, they're side by side at the moment, McLean and Morton. Morton's trying to go around the outside. They have been very, very close for the last couple of laps. McLean, Morton, who's going to get it? I think it is going to be Darren McLean is going to take that second place at the moment. Slight little hip check on Roger Morton there as well, as he gets it a little bit wrong coming out of the hairpin. Now up the run round the Fangio. The guys up front are still separated by literally not a lot. Round the right hander they go of Cunningham. It's still Hunt, it's still Van Gogh, it's still Steve Hefford. Is it still McLean and then Morton? No, Morton's gone through. McLean's trying to come back at him. Roger Morton has managed to hold on to that position away from Darren McLean, but we're going to check in because these guys once more are on that run through the Flying Fortress, straight down through Bishops and then coming into the Le Mans complex at the end. Dan Hunt holding on, but the other two, Tom, this draft's going to be important down the Ullman.
Yeah, Hunt's got a little bit of a buffer, but how much that buffer will go away once Van Gogh and Hefford get into the slipstream on the Ullman Straight prior to the Sunset Bend. This is it now, James. They're coming onto the Ullman Straight now. Will Hefford do what he did last time by going a little wider than these two and gain all the traction and speed on the exit? It's going to be very, very ambitious for him to do that, but he's got nothing to lose now.
No, definitely hasn't. Just go and swing it in, go around the outside, full send or go home. Pete Van Gogh's trying to go around the outside. Steve Hefford's got traction in the middle. Is he going to be able to bully Dan Hunt off that inside line? He just needed it there as well. Steve Hefford might have just about got this as we're on the run down to the line now as well. Is it going to be Hefford? Is it going to be Hunt? It's going to be Hunt. Oh my dearie me, separated by absolutely nothing. We'll have a look back at that in a minute. Darren McLean makes it through with Ollie Ricks and Roger Morton. Then we've got Steve Hansford. He's having a right little ding-dong with Sir Alan Toon as they're going around the final corner as well. And Alan Toon managing, is he going to hold on? He's going to have another run with Steve Hansford as well as they're coming down to the line. Alan Toon, Steve Hansford, it is going to be Toon. He gets the job done there as well. 0.06 of a second between the front three going over the line there, Tom. We can't really ask for much more, can we?
I was just going to say, cue the Cars memes is probably what some of them will be saying as they watch that. That was sensational to watch between Dan Hunt, Steve Hefford and Pete Van Gogh. More importantly, leaving each other room and respect all the way through that. That was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, absolutely was. It was a great fight from the three of them, and they've done an absolute amazing job getting over the line. It will be the number 14 car of Andy Littler will be the last one coming round the final. Well, he's actually into Le Mans, so he's got the run down the Ullman to go before we can bring you up the results here. And I can safely say that was an epic race one. Colin Sanson, good evening, good race at the front. It was, absolutely, it was a good race as well. Right up until the point you got torpedoed by Ralph Cullingham. Unfortunately, Ralph went off, tried to get it back on the racetrack, and, well, you just happened to be there. So, unfortunately, what more could we ask for, Colin? What more could we ask for? As we're coming to the end now There is Andy Littler, goes over the line, job done. Heat 1 results coming right up. And it is Dan Hunt, your winner there, with Charles Kellerman with Steve Hefford, in second place. Pete Van Gaal in third. Come over the line, you can see the difference. 6-7 hundredths of a second, if that. Jamie Wilson is in fourth. Then we got Charles Kellerman takes the victory in the AMS with Roger Morton in second and Ollie Ricks in third. Darren McLean in fourth. Then Pete Newman battled his way back to ninth. Fiona Siddons 10th. Sir Allenton 11th. Steve Hansford in 12th. Darryl Wright 13th, Andy Littler 14th, then Ralph Cullen and Colin Sanson, and of course no Mick Barry at the bottom there either. Well, I think we can safely say race 1, well, if that's going to be what's going to happen for the rest of the other 3 races here, Tom, it's going to be absolutely amazing.
Well, I think we're going to be in for a roller coaster ride. It was a shame we lost Ralph Cullingham at the beginning. Otherwise, he would have been in that fight, wouldn't he, with those top 3 drivers in the first race. But not to worry, we've got race 2 coming up, and they've got another chance to really showcase what they are really, really made of. My memory serves me, James, that it's the reverse of the top 9 that determines the grid for race 2. Am I correct?
You are, which is putting the Pure Sims of Pete Newman on pole position, which, to be honest, I'm sure the others are not going to be too impressed about. Pete did finish 5th in the spring season, so he's on his day. He is literally unbeatable. When he's on it, 100%, he is literally incredible. So that should be an interesting one to see how they all get on. And then obviously we can have Darren McLean and so on all the way through, but I think the reverse grid always brings a different dimension to racing, Tom, and I think that's the thing that some people don't quite understand why leagues do reverse grids. It's because of the racing itself. It's just absolutely amazing.
It really is very much so. We are just looking around the Sebring circuit just to sort of really witness what it's actually like to be racing here. We've seen so much racing in iRacing, I'm sure a lot of leagues have done, in different kinds of championships. I mean, we had a Formula 4 type series not too long ago, James, where we saw a lot of that happening going on here, and it was fantastic to watch from start to finish, and we've seen a repeat of that here in the Mazda MX-5s. I think it just shows that any form of racing you can do around Sebring, you're always going to be treated with something that you're not going to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sebring just lends it there as well. Collins in the YouTube chat, nowhere to go. No, well, you didn't even see him coming there. PVG, welcome in, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us. You are out on the racetrack in a few minutes, though, mate. So, you know, as fiery as it was, and a great job from you as you did do there, sir. I suggest you probably concentrate on the racing. But don't forget, guys, we've got 11 more weeks of racing coming up here on a Tuesday evening with the Watkins Glen Boot will be the next race circuit next week. Then we're off on to the 25th of June where we go to Alton Park International without Hislops. Then on the 2nd of July it's the Red Bull Ring Grand Prix. Then on the 9th of July we head to Phillip Island. On the 16th we're going to go to the Canadian Motorsport Park. Please tune in for that one because that's going to be absolutely amazing. On the 23rd we're off to Spa. That's a classic pit layout. Then on the 30th, it's the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. On the 6th of August, we go to Road Atlanta Club circuit, which is the short one. On the 13th of August, we go off to Mugello. And then on the 20th of August, we go to the Oschersleben GP circuit. On the 27th of August, when we finish wrap the season up, we finish at Daytona, the NASCAR Road circuit. Tom, there is some great tracks on there. And this next 11 weeks is going to be epic.
Indeed. I'm just looking at all those circuits, actually. I mean, Spa is certainly one to look out for. Brands Hatch as well, very much a popular one. Mugello is a track that everyone loves, partly because of Formula 1 racing there in one particular year during the unfortunate COVID times, but we still got the opportunity for Formula 1 to see how they got round Mugello, as well as Formula 2 and Formula 3. Oschersleben is an old school track, really, for a lot of drivers. I mean, this is going back as far as the days of Formula 3000. One particular time where a driver came through from the back of the field or towards the back of the field. I can't remember his name, but he finished on the podium ultimately. And that is quite frankly one of the best drives in any junior racing series. as well as World Touring Cars racing around Oschersleben. Of course, every track that we're going to is going to really, really serve up a really, really spicy series. It has to be throughout the next few months, you would think.
I fully agree. I can fully concur that we will see some epic racing every single week. I can confirm Craig Jones is racing in the series. He's not here this week. He's on holiday. He flew out to Egypt, I believe, today. So Craig flew out. I believe his plane was this afternoon. So let's have a look at the grid for race number 2. Pete Newman on pole position with Darren McLean in second, Ollie Ricks in third, Roger Morton in fourth with Charles Kellerman in fifth and Jamie Wilson rounding out row 3 in sixth, and Pete Van Gaal in seventh with Steve Hefford eighth, Dan Hunt in ninth, Fiona Siddons in 10th with Sir Alan Toon 11th and Steve Hansford rounding out the top 12. Then on from there we've got Darryl Wright, Andy Littler, Ralph Cullinan and Colin Sansom will be the last man on the grid. No Mick Barry, but the lights are coming on already once more and we are up and running, and it is green here for the second race of the evening. Pete Newman takes up the whole shot. He's got Darren McLean, Ollie Ricks and Roger Morton nestled in behind him. You've got an ever looming PVG tucked in there once again as well as these guys go round turn 1. Pete Newman takes the whole shot here, Tom. He done what he needed to do. He's now just got to keep it clean because that will probably cement the victory for race 2.
You would think so, because the likes of Gould, Wilson, Hefford and Hunt are going to be making their way through, and there's an off there. It's Cullinan again. Yeah,
I think it is. Ralph Cullinan in the wall. Steve Hansford's been off here. Darryl Wright, I believe. Hansford touched Cullinan. Cullinan's gone through. Big lock of the brakes there. Cullinan on the side. There's been something else happen further down. Mr. Jamie Wilson looks like he's had a bit of a moment once again, but he is still up and running. Looks like Jamie Wilson, Steve Hefford and Fiona Siddons, but they're all still running there, so maybe the timing screen's having a little bit of a wobbly, but we'll see what happens once more. Let's have a look and see, did Jamie Wilson, Steve Hefford and Fiona Siddons have their own moment as they're coming into the hairpin? Oh, it's 3 wide. That's never good. There was contact just a little bit on the back of Steve Hefford. Hefford's gone round, but when you take it 3 wide in a hairpin, Tom, that's not always going to work out for the best.
No, it's not going to work out, is it? And, well, Sanson's joined the race, albeit he started from the pit lane, so he's got a lot of ground to make up already in this one, so it could be a matter of just maybe going for a fastest lap of some kind. But he is leaving the pits now, but back at the front, Pete Newman has pole clear, but we're looking at a battle between Hefford and Toon. This is for 9th place overall, but crucially for 5th position in class. This is the early stages of this one. We expect them to make mincemeat of all those in AM, but they've given themselves more work to do down this side, and they haven't got a lot of time to make up for that.
No, you are right. Roger Morton's under pressure from Charles Kellerman. Dan Hunt's going to run up the inside. He's just made up 2 places going into Sunset there. Great job from him. Ollie Ricks did not quite get Darren McLean. PVG did not quite move on. All this fighting is giving Pete Newman almost 1 second out in front here, Tom. He's almost out of draft range of these guys. That does mean that they're not going to catch him. If they're going to do it, they've got to try and do it on raw pace, and that's not the most easiest thing to do here.
We've seen a couple of drivers clout the wall on the exit of Sunset as well. Hopefully that won't have done too much damage. We've seen a couple of position changes. Gould's gone up into 3rd place now overall. He's got McLean in his way, who's ahead of all those in the AM class. Newman's gap over McLean is now 1.3 seconds, but it won't be too long before Gould gets by McLean for 2nd position as they head towards what will be the hairpin turn in a moment. And as you can see, the Pro and the AM classifications there now, as we are on lap 2. Pete Newman is 1.3 seconds over Gould as they exit what is now Fangio, and they'll soon head towards Cunningham to see if any of them make a move. Well, Gould's behind McLean on the road, so he needs to get by him very, very quickly and start to make up ground on Pete Newman ahead.
Yeah, not the most easiest thing to do. You can see the overalls on the left-hand side there. You can see Pete Van Gogh is stuck behind Darryl McLean. Biggest gainer, believe it or not, is Darryl Wright. He's up 5 places. He's got some 4 place gains from Ralph Cullen and Dan Hunt, and also, Pete Van Gogh's just now made a place as well. So he's up into the 5 spots gained once again. The question will be, can Pete catch Pete Newman, or is PVG too far back, do you think?
No, I think Gull every chance of catching Newman. Almost like he got away there for a moment, but he's still in there. He's 1.7 seconds behind. He is now 1.8. He's got all the time he's got to really go after Gull. They've only got 7 laps at most to make their moves, but Gull's got all the corners and time to make up the ground. So this race is not a foregone conclusion by any means in both Pro and Am.
Yeah, Ollie Ricks trying to take the lead in the AMs there. Him and McLean battling away side by side. Ricks does make it through. Is he going to get PVG? Tightens up Sunset, which unfortunately is going to let him drift out a little bit wide on the left-hand side. He could have gone and let it open up just that little bit more. Now Ricks is on the left in the green and black. McLean's in the red and white, and they're heading down into turn 1 now. McLean's got that inside line, and we're on board with Ollie Ricks. You just see on the left side there is Darryl McLean. He's gone shooting through on us. Now Ricks is going to try the undercut coming into turn 2. Is he going to be able to make it work? Dan Hunt wants to come through once again. He takes a position away from Ollie Ricks and separates his hand battle there, but Ollie did try the up and under underneath. He just couldn't quite make it work considering Dan Hunt was there.
Yeah, and we've just seen the car of McLean making his way through. He's still in 3rd position overall, and the leader of all those in Am, Hunt and Ricks, not too far behind. But we're also seeing Charles Kellingham, the winner of Am in the first race, going toe-to-toe with Roger Morton going through the hairpin turn, and Morton has pushed Kellerman further down the order, so Kellerman down to 4th place in class.
Yeah, Morton doing a stellar job holding on from Kellerman at this moment in time. How long, though, that's going to be the question. How long can Dan Hunt and Darren McLean continue to swap places? Well, that much. Ollie Ricks has taken an advantage. He's taking the lead in the AMs now. As McLean opened up the door, Hunt got through, and then Ricks said, well, if you're going to leave it like that, sir, I'm going to have my way as well. And Ollie Ricks come through and took that spot away from Darren McLean. Going on to lap 3, 8.5 minutes to go. As we said, it will be touch and go. Probably should get the 7 laps in, the amount of lap time that Pete Newman is doing at the moment. Best lap time he's got is a 2:26.48. Funny enough, he did that on his last lap, so a great lap from Pete Newman. But you can see how close Charles Kellerman is here, Tom. He's literally pushing Morton along.
Yeah, he needs to get by Morton, does Kellerman, to go after Ricks and McLean. In talk which of Ricks, he's now ahead in the AM class, so Ricks is through safe and sound. I'd have thought Gould would be closing on Newman since he got by the AM drivers, but he's not exactly making up ground, is he, James?
No, he's not. If anything, he's losing time. It's 2.5 seconds. Last time out, 2:27 for BVG, 2:26 for Pete Newman. We'll keep an eye on the Kellerman. He's just about to try and go up the inside of Morton. Is he going to be able to tighten it up enough? Can Morton get that car rotated and stop? That's going to be the question. On that run now, is it going to come underneath the Auto Parts Bridge? Morton does manage to hang on. Kellerman is tucked in right behind him. He's trying to get the run down into turn 1. I don't think he's going to be close enough this time around. However, Ollie Ricks is close enough to Dan Hunt. He's slowly pulling away from Darren McLean, which I'm quite surprised about because I thought McLean might have been able to stay with him on pace.
Yeah, well, McLean is kept his nose in there with Ricks as they go through. Ahead of Ricks is actually Dan Hunt. Dan Hunt is not in this fight in terms of class, and Ricks will just be praying for Hunt, saying, just get on with it, pull away. I don't want to be stuck behind you. I want you to pull away, so I'm not having McLean getting the slipstream behind me. Or does Ricks actually feel, well, do you know what? I'm going to get the slipstream of you so I can actually stay ahead of McLean.
Yeah, he might be well able to. You can see Kellerman and Morton coming down towards us now. Morton is managing to hold on. Kellerman's trying to go around the outside of their hairpin. There's going to be a little bit of contact because that does tighten up there. They managed to keep the cars away from each other through through Fangio they go on the run down into Cunningham. They've swapped places once again. That's swap number 6, 7 in the space of about a few corners. Morton's now going to try and come up. Is he up the inside? Oh, almost contact with Kellerman, but that's brought Steve Hefford into the fight as well, Tom.
Well, Hefford should be able to get through on Morton and Kellerman. Oh, contact!
Oh, Roger Morton off the side of the circuit there. Was there contact here? Is it going to be much? Is it going to be loads? It's Steve Hefford to Roger Morton's rear end, and Steve Hefford's nose goes to Roger Morton's rear end, and around goes Roger Morton. It just goes to show, though, that when these cars are unsettled in a corner, because we saw it in race 1 as well, Tom, that they just don't take much to go round at all, do they?
No, they're very sensitive. I mean, one tap like that can upset the car's momentum, and we've seen it in the first race as well, where someone, I think it was Cunningham and someone else that he took with him.
Sansom, was it? Yeah.
We saw that in the first race, and it underlines how careful you've got to be in terms of the way you tap the other car, so not only upset their momentum, but yours as well, and maybe others behind, because they may have to take evasive action to that. For Hefford, luckily, he's able to continue, whereas for Morton, it's the end of the race for him. So really bad luck to him. But Kellerman is just being overtaken by Hefford now, but he won't be too fussed about that because Hefford is in Pro, whereas Kellerman is in Am.
Yeah, it's this one here. He wants to kind of try and stay in front of. Darrell Wright obviously got promoted after being the AM Championship last season, so he's up into pros, but these guys are quite similar on pace. I can tell you now, Darrell Wright 2:27.19 flying. Kellerman's battle with Steve Hefford gave him a 2:28.96, so he lost 1.8 seconds to Darrell Wright last time around. Wright does go through this time. Kellerman kind of almost looked like he gave up there, Tom, because Wright was able to take the apex when Kellerman was alongside him.
Yeah, well, they're both in different classes anyway, James, so I don't think Kellerman will be too fussed about it. Ralph Cunningham's another 4 seconds back, so I think all Kellerman can do is just stay in touch with Hefford and Wright and get the benefit of the slipstream down the straight to maintain the gap over Cunningham.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to try and just hold on. He might as well, wouldn't he? As we said earlier on with the Ollie Ricks and Dan Hunt, Darren McLean situation, Ricks is just trying to hold on. He's opened up 2.1 seconds over Darren McLean. So Ollie Ricks doing a great job. I will pick up on the front the fact that PVG has pulled that gap down to a second, Tom, and they're going to have literally one and one more to go here.
Yeah, you would think so, but it depends on how quickly they get over the line. The fact that Newman's in the lead, he's been able to maintain the lead for so long. I think they will get 2 more tours, as we did in the first race. We just saw, I think it was Hefford who ran wide, entering the Ullman straight. That's not going to do his chances of catching McLean any good. But we are about to start what should be the penultimate lap of the race, as we see Kellerman fighting back on Wright heading into the Sunset Bend. Not that it will mean anything in terms of the class side of things, but in regards to battling, Kellerman will be happy with that. But now this is the penultimate lap of the race. Newman leading goal by less than a second.
Yeah, he is there. There is Charles Kellerman having a right little ding-dong with Darrell Wright. Why not? Go for it. He is around your pace. Let's see what you could do here, Charles, as he's tucked up behind Wright going into turn 1. There is the recovering Irishman of Ralph Cullinan behind. He's up 6 places into 9th. So a great job from Ralph after starting right near the back of the grid for this race. Kellerman and Wright almost brought it side by side going into turn 2. Through the left-hander. Then they're going to go right. Then they're going to go left again on that run round the Gurney Bend. Down into the right-hander now of Gurney Bend, as we've had confirmation from Jamie that Darrell Wright is AMS. So they are racing for position.
Well, they are heading towards the Sunset, sorry, not Sunset, Darrell Wright and Charles Cullinan are in the same class as each other. Just getting an update of the fact that Darrell Wright is in fact in AMS. Rix is still ahead of McLean by 3 seconds, so I think we can agree that it's quite a foregone conclusion in terms of who's going to win in the AM class in this race. We're looking at Andy Lickler, who we've spoken very little about throughout this evening, but it's good to see how he's getting on. He's behind Fiona Siddons in the battle for what is 5th place in AM, and just behind them is Toon, who is chasing after them.
Yeah, they're all in the same team, so this could be interesting for the work guard by results. Littler and Siddons and Toon, all part of the same team here. So we'll have to see how these guys get on. First rule of racing, though, you would have thought would be to not take out your teammates. So we will keep an eye on that. But I also want to keep an eye on Darryl Wright and Charles Kellerman, as these guys are battling for the 3rd spot of the podium in the AM class. Darryl Wright in the 84. Charles Kellerman is behind in the 67. Fiona Siddons and Littler did just swap places twice and have now put it back to as they were. But Pete Van Gaal has got one more lap to try and get Pete Newman here, as Barney's going to be waving this time around. You can see him on the left-hand side waving frantically. 6 attempts. Can he make it up over the last lap, Tom?
Yeah, I think he's got all the time he needs to. He needs to get into the slipstream. He won't have a go in the early part of this lap, but once he gets maybe within 2/10 of him, by the time they get onto the Almond Straight, that is all he needs to pull alongside. But Newman has to defend the inside line going into Sunset, so that he's got good traction and speed on the exit all the way to the line. But this is going to be a nail-biting moment as we look at Fiona Siddons, who's just been overtaken by Andy Lickler at the end of the Almond Straight, but she's not giving it up by any means.
No, 5 times they have swapped places over the last quarter of a lap. Now they've got the final lap to keep going at each other here, but PVG has got Pete Van Gaal tucked up right behind him. Kellerman has just overtaken Darryl Wright. They're come back together. This is the battle for 3rd in the AM class for the podium. Wright's trying to send it. Kellerman's hunting out the apex. He needs to hug it tighter than his favourite grandma. Pete Van Gaal and Pete Newman are, well, they were down to 1/10 here, Tom. This is surely, if PVG tucks in behind him on that Ullman, it's going to be very tough for Pete Newman to hang on to.
Yeah, it's a long straight as well, and with the speeds of these cars all the way down the Almond Straight, the slipstream is going to be so effective. It could be almost indefensible, almost unstoppable for Newman to pull off. Oh. But we'll find out as they head towards. We just saw a slight bump there that might have knocked Newman's momentum a little bit, but he's able to get the car back in line. And as they come towards the right-hand bend before Ullman, this is it, James. They're coming onto the Almond Straight now.
Yeah, Newman got a great run out, mind you. He opened up about 2/10 over PVG. The gap's out to 4. It's coming down on the left-hand side. You can see it as a rapid rates of knots. As we get closer, it's going to come down quicker. 3-3, 3-2, 3-1. We're now below 3/10. 2-6, 2-5, 2-3. This is Van Gaal's final opportunity. Pete Van Gaal, yeah! Is he going to try? We're on board here, but I think Newman's going to get it. They're going to come over the line. I think Pete Newman is going to hold on. PVG's not going to get the run. It is Pete Newman. Grabbed it there as well. Took the victory. Great job from him. Ollie Ricks comes over, wraps up the AM class. Steve Heffen just clears Darren McLean right at the end there. Charles Kellerman having a right little ding-dong with Darryl Wright. They've just taken swap positions. Charles come through and took that position away. Andy Littler has cleared Fiona Siddons. Is Littler going to hold on? No, that's going to be the question on the run down to the line here. I don't think Siddons is going to get him this time around. What's happening with Steve Hansford and Jamie Wilson? Well, they're just having a ding-dong, and why not? Because they can. So great job from all of these guys once again. And epic fighting for race number 2, but it was Pete Newman wraps it up in the pro class. Ollie Ricks is wrapping it up in the AMs with Darren McLean in 2nd, and Kellerman grabbed 3rd spot there. So great job from them. We will bring you up the results, and then we will go into a brief little intermission as we move over sessions. So we'll wait for the results to come through. And then we will bring them up for you from race number 2, which I think you can safely say has just been absolutely amazing, as it always is, as we just wait for this man from year 1, which is Colin Sanson, to go over the lines. So epic job from all of them once more there, Tom, and race 2 didn't fail to deliver, just like race 1 did.
No, it certainly didn't fail to deliver. I wouldn't say it was intense as the first race. It wasn't plain sailing for Newman, because we always knew that Van Gogh was going to close down that gap once he got by those in the AM class. It was a nail-biting finish to the end, but Newman kept his nerve, didn't crack under pressure, and then won out in the end, and it was a very well-deserved win in race 2.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there as well, but I think they've done a stellar job as Colin Sanson does come over the line. Right, let's have a look at the final results for race number 2. Pete Newman is in pole position, or sorry, should I say, took the win in race number 2, with PVG in second, Dan Hunt in third. That's your 1, 2, 3 in your pros. Ollie Ricks comes out winning the AMs, with Steve Hefford in 5th, with Darren McLean and Charles Kellerman rounding out the AM podium. Darrell Wright, Ralph Cullinan, Andy Littler, Fiona Siddons, Sir Alan Toon, Steve Hansford, Jamie Wilson, Colin Sanson and Roger Morton. And as we know, we had no Mick Barry. Right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the first 2 races of the evening. Join us after this short break. Okay, guys, we are back for race number 3 and 4 for the UkSimracers MX5 Summer Season 2024, Round 1 from Sebring. I'm still James Parfitt, and I'm still joined in the booth by Tom Cairnes here this evening as well. We've been treated, Tom, to what can only be deemed as a very, very exciting race 1 and race 2, with race 3 coming up, which is that random reverse grid, and then race 4 is the top 8 reverse for race 4. It's going to make it even more interesting, I think, because we don't actually know where anybody will be for race number 3.
No, definitely not. But if it ends up being one of those from Pro that ends up on pole, it could end up being them doing what Pete Newman did in race 2 by pulling away and bridging out enough of a gap just ahead of Pete Van Gool. So it's going to be an absolute lottery to find out who is actually going to be at the front. However, if it ends up being most of the AMs being at the front as opposed to pros, that's going to make for a nail-biting race 3. If we can get a repeat of what we had in race 1, where we had a drag race to the line between the top 3 that was separated by around about half a tenth, then that is something I would bite my hand off for.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's been absolutely amazing, the first races here as well. I know we've got Colin Sansom rebooting everything, as he said in the YouTube chat. Jamie Ayres, wait until race 4, it will chuck it down. Well, if you're sure, you're the one who sets the sessions up there, sir, so only you will know if it's going to absolutely rain in race number 4. I think that could be... Well, that would definitely add some spice to the evening, Tom, if we end up with some big old rain coming down for race 4.
Yeah, whether it's during it or if it's going to be wet at the start of it, I think that's anyone's guess apart from the person who's setting up the sessions. But we'll find out soon enough when it comes around to race 4.
Yeah.
Shall we have a look at the grid, James?
Yeah, we've got Sir Alan Toon on pole position with PVG in second, Roger Morton in third and Charles Kellerman in fourth. Then you've got Ralph Cullinan and Steve Hansford, Andy Littler and Ollie Rick, Steve Hefford and Jamie Wilson, and Darrell Wright and Darren McLean. Behind that, Colin Sanson, Dan Hunt, Fiona Siddons and Pete Newman rounded out the top 16. So Alan Toon sat on pole position. Doesn't normally like being there, and he will make a conceited effort to get out of the way here, Tooney. So I'm hoping he doesn't. There are times when I just want him to go for it, Tom, and I've been in now for a good couple of years, and I'm hoping that Alan Toon does not rescind that pole position, and he absolutely goes for it. But here are the lights going to be coming on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can Tooney get away? He does. Oh, somebody, Pure Sims did not go anywhere. Roger Morton did not react whatsoever. Pete Van Gool gets an absolute barnstorming start coming down into turn 1. Alan Toon's managed to hold on to their second place. Charles Kellerman's in there with Ralph Cullinan. There's another optical green of Steve Hansford, but Roger Morton did not go anywhere off the start there, Tom, but it's PVG taking the whole shot.
So it's no surprise to see PVG taking the lead ahead of Sir Alan Toon. But there was a huge gap behind Toon, so the rest of the pack coming into turn 1, contributed by Morton getting bogged down at the start. And furthermore, it almost looked like Alan Toon jumped the start as the lights went out. But yeah, I don't think any penalty has been given to him as a consequence. It looked like he reacted perfectly to the lights, but Van Gool got the better second phase at the start to take over ahead of the field.
Yes, Sir Alan Toon managing to hold on to that second place. Steve Hefford, Ralph Cullinan. Then you've got Charles Kellerman, Wilson behind. Newman's coming back through the field. Siddons is there. Littler and McLean are running side by side as well. Hansford's in there. Sanson's got all of his stuff reset with Dan Hunt coming through on him as well. There's a lot going on as Sir Alan Toon does lose a place to Steve Hefford there, but can he stay in the lead of the AMs? Ralph Cullinan says thanks very much. I'm going to have some as he's trying around the outside line of Cunningham. Tooney holding on. He's on the right hand side in that 65 green and black machine. Cullinan on the left in the white green. Tooney's managed to hold on through Tower. Is he going to get the run out now as well? It looks like he has. He's still battling away here, Tom, and he's holding on to third place overall.
Yeah, well, Toon's doing well so far. Hefford got through into second place and second in pro so far. Toon holding his ground very well. He's got a little bit of a buffer actually over the likes of Wilson and Cullinan. Cullinan needs to improve from a really disappointing first half of this evening and start making up for lost time, because he's at the moment 4th in the pro class and he could do with at the very minimum a podium in this one. But things are starting to hot up actually as they come around towards the Sunset Bend.
Yeah, they are now. Tooney's managing to hold on. He's got Wilson behind him, then Cullinan, then Morton, all tucked him once again as these guys continue to fight. Sir Alan Toon still holding on to the 3rd overall. Roger Morton, who did not go off the line, he literally, it looked like he didn't even move. I would say if he didn't get bogged down, it didn't even look like he moved off the start there, Tom. But it looks like Wilson has cleared Alan Toon. Morton is trying the inside over Ralph Cullinan. Is he going to get that going into turn 1? Ralph not looking too comfortable here this evening, is he? He's just lost that place to Morton. He's gone from flying in race 1, not doing so well in race 2, and now not looking comfortable in race 3.
His confidence has dropped, James, I think, from the accidents he's had both in races 1 and 2. So he's really struggling. It almost looked like the car was reluctant to turn in the way Cullinan would have wanted it to. So I think it could be a bit of a damage limitation race for Cullinan to just get his confidence back into play and start fighting it out with the likes of Van Gool, Hefford and co. But at least he's ahead of Dan Hunt for the time being, but he needs to clear Roger Morton as soon as possible as Alan Toon continues to drop back.
Yeah, Colin Sanson having a ding-dong with Fiona Siddons. Siddons got the outside line, Sanson's got the inside. Little bit of contact there. Colin did give her a squeeze just a little bit. Kellerman now trying to lose the likes of Ollie Ricks. We've seen this before, especially in race number 2 where these guys were fighting out, and Darren McLean in there, and he's sitting in 5th in class, 10th overall. He's behind Charles Kellerman and Ollie Ricks. This is a 4-car fight with Sir Alan Toon sitting in 2nd place at the moment. On lap 2, just breaking into that 10-minute to go mark. PVG still nestled out in front here. Can he hold on though? Because he has got his teammate behind him, which should make it a little bit easier, right?
Well, what I was going to say, we've got a fight on our hands now between the top 2 in this race, Van Gool and Hefford, which is how it should be, given their ding-dong battles throughout tonight's chain of events. It could be that we're going to see something like we saw in race 1, where it was just drag race lap after lap after lap, and we're seeing quite a few swaps in positions as I say that.
Oh, Fiona Siddons, has been a problem with Colin Sanson. Was there contact? See outside, that's Steve Hansford. Oh, yeah, there definitely was.
He was already losing the car before the contact was made, so I'd give that as a little bit of a racing incident, to be honest with you, James, but it is unfortunate.
Yeah, Kellerman's just cleared Darren McLean. Newman's trying to come back through here. The man in that 118 machine liveried. He's trying to have a go at Darren McLean. Will stay on board with Pete Newman. PVG has got Steve Evan tucked up right behind. That's Charles Kellerman in front of us at this moment in time. Pete Newman trying the outside line. Is he going to swap to the inside for turn number 2? It looks like he's going to send it on the inside of Charles Kellerman. They're going to make a little bit of contact. Kellerman didn't leave him loads of room, but left him just enough to make through that corner cleanly there, Tom. That could have been a lot worse, but the respect they got. Kellerman just left him enough, though, didn't he? He didn't leave him loads, but he just gave him enough to say, okay, you can have it.
Well, he didn't want to make it that easy for Dan Hunt to get by, but you can just see as he takes a different line, Cullinan is not having a good time of it so far in this 3rd race. It's almost like he's having to just give up positions so that he wants to get as many points as possible considering the circumstances. And now we're looking at Hefford and Van Gool fighting over the race lead, and I'd imagine they're going to be very much into the slipstream as they go towards the Almond Straight. We're seeing Ollie Ricks moving in front of Darren McLean. Newman making up ground by getting through on Kellyman into 10th position on the road. There's a contact there between Ricks and McLean as they head towards the...
Going up to Tower.
Tower. Yeah.
Yeah, they've just gone through Tower Turn on the run down the Fortress Straight, coming into Bishops before they go into the Le Mans complex at the end here. You can see this is Ollie Ricks, this is Darren McLean. Behind that is Pete Newman with Charles Kellerman and Andy Littler. Then you've got Steve Hansford and Fiona Siddons having a right little ding-dong further back. These guys not giving each other any quarter whatsoever. I think the two Momo boys up front are just fighting enough to pull away from Wilson. I don't think they're fighting enough to hold each other up here, Tom. I think they're just kind of following each other to try and open up as much as a gap as they can, and they've got 4.5 seconds. They've done a great job so far.
Yeah, well, Van Goghl's maintaining the advantage over Hefford. He's reading into Hefford's lines a little bit. He's probably recognised how Hefford wants to take the line through Sunset Bend, and Van Goghl's almost reading into it, so it's very clever what Van Goghl is doing at the moment. Wilson holding firm in third place. It's unlikely he'll catch the top two. Roger Morton ahead of all those in the AM class for your information. So Allenton's been overtaken by Darren McLean now. He's down to third in AM. He's trying to fight back on McLean into turn one, but to no avail. But we are seeing Cullingham starting to fight back a little bit on Hunt into turn one. Is he starting to regain his confidence, perhaps?
Yeah, I think he is. I'm a little bit worried here as well. There's confirmation in YouTube chat. The rain is set to start before warm-up and will get heavier throughout the race. Now, that could deem the fact that I'm looking at some very dark grey clouds above the race circuit here. Do we think, though, that are we going to get rain before the end of the race? That would be an interesting one if it's set to start just before the warm-up. Could this throw this final few couple of laps into complete and utter chaos if it comes down just before the end?
Well, this race is taking a bit of a turn if it's going to be the case, James, because are the drivers equipped to a wet circuit with these Mazda MX5s as they are in the dry? I think that's going to be something to look forward to in the next few laps.
I can tell you now they're not, unless they're not. The reason they're not is because rain come to MX5s yesterday. So whether or not anybody's done any practice in the rain, I'll be very surprised. It was in yesterday's update. The rain came to the MX5s, it came to the GT4s. I believe there was a couple of other cars that it also came to as well. So I'm going to trust on that piece of information that I've got, Tom, that none of these probably would have done any testing whatsoever in the rain.
Oh, we're just seeing a battle between what looks like Darren McLean trying to get back through on Ralph Cunningham. They're not in the same class, but somehow McLean is able to get through on Cunningham before they get to the Almond Straight. That was a great overtake from McLean, but Cunningham is continuing to drop back.
Yeah, he's not quite gaining that confidence as of yet. What about Jamie Wilson? Well, he's got the Pure Sims 92 Roger Morton right up alongside him. Team Chimera, Pure Sims battling it out. Wilson in the front with Morton behind at the moment. But it looks like Fiona Siddons has unfortunately had a little bit of a ta-ta-ta and has gone off the side of the circuit. But here comes Morton now. Is he going to be able to get Wilson on that inside line? Wilson takes that very wide line, tries to carry the speed. He's still going to stay ahead this time. What about Dan Hunt? Darren McLean's on the inside. McLean says, nope, I'm going to have that position away as he tightens up the inside. That's going to scrub some speed off. That's going to give Hunt the outside line going into turn number 2. Can McLean send it in? Hunt gives him room. I think Hunt was expecting McLean to be there, Tom, but he never actually showed up for it. So there we go, and we'll continue this fight on here with Darren McLean and Dan Hunt as they're battling away on the run down Gurney now, down into the hairpin turn towards at the end of the straightaway. Hunt's on the inside in the red and white with a red bumper and the white bonnet. McLean's got the red car with the white stripes. Cullinan's in the back with a green roll bar. These guys continually fighting it out here. Jamie Wilson and Roger Morton are also scrapping away. It's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position swaps over the first half of this race. Darren McLean does look like to have got the job done with Dan Hunt in there. Ralph Cullinan does manage to hold on, and he stays where he is. Further back, you see Andy Littler giving Ollie Ricks a whole pile of grief. Littler's on the left-hand side. He's going to take that position away. Andy Littler makes it through. What about Steve Hefford and PVG? Well, they're continuing to fight it out here as well as they're going into lap number 5 round the Ullman Straight for what should be the start of the penultimate lap.
Well, I have to say, Darren McLean's having a race of it so far. He's got so much to make up on Roger Morton, though, who's 10 seconds clear ahead of McLean at the present moment. There's no way McLean's going to make up that ground in a couple of laps. But going back to what you were saying about Van Gogh and Hefford, they're nose to tail once more, as they have been throughout the whole race, in all honesty. And this could come down. How much time are they going to have by the time they get over the line? Oh, this is going to be very close in terms. Yeah, it's going to be very close as to where the white flag's being waved. Yeah. The white flag's being waved, so this must be the last lap.
Final lap of the race now. We're 1 lap shorter than we were in the first 2. I think the change of track conditions has probably got something to do with this as well, but there is a group of cars. You can see them all coming towards us, led by Darren McLean. Ralph Cullinan's trying to get through. Andy Littler swaps to the other side of the racetrack. He's going to try and sneak up the inside. They're going to try and go 3 wide round turn 1. They've all got to play it by, oh man, give each other respect, because I can tell you what, they're 3 wide into turn 2. Littler's holding on. Is he going to keep it? No. There was contact with Dan Hunt. And unfortunately, Andy Littler went round there as well, Tom. But when you're trying to go 3 wide through turn 2, you're always going to be in danger.
What a huge shame for Andy Littler. He was on course for a podium as well in the AM class before he had that spin. He was having the race of it compared to what we've seen from him in the first 2. But yes, it's come crashing back down to earth for him on the last lap. What a shame. And he's now behind Charles Kellyman, who is a winner from one of the first 2 races. And he's going to have to make do with where he is. He's currently now 6th in class, ahead of Sanson, Hansford, Wright and Siddons. But back to the lead overall between Van Gogh and Hefford. This is going to be the last lap. And is Hefford running out of opportunities to make a move on the Dutchman?
Yes. That's basically that's all we can say about that one, as he is running out of opportunities. They're coming down through Bishops now, coming into the right hander before into the Le Mans complex. This is basically his final crack. This is the final go, the final set, the final moment. This is Hefford's moment. This is it now. Does he, though, is followed Pete Van Gogh for the whole entire race. Surely the racing driver in him would say to make this move. Going into sunset now, it's down to 1-1, now below a tenth. Pete, he's still not pulled out. Where are you? Where are you? He pulls out now. I think he's left out a little bit late. He's going to try and go around the outside, is Steve Hefford. Is he going to get the run down to the line as they come out of sunset? He left that. I've got a funny feeling, no, he's not even going for it down on the run. It is going to be PVG with Steve Hefford. They did come over the line. Roger Morton didn't get past Jamie Wilson. What's going on with Dan Hunt and Ollie Ricks? Well, I can tell you one thing. Hunt just got that all wrong, as Ollie Ricks is now going to try and get the run down to the line. Ollie Ricks has got the inside. I think it is going to be Dan Hunt, no, who's going to come over the line. Then Sir Alan 2, 4th in class with Pete Newman behind him. Steve Hefford never went for that move, Tom. That was just, you have it.
Yeah, well, I think what he tried to do was his ideal line of going for the outside and then doing the switchback on the exit. But Van Gogh read into that and completely held his line and gained all the traction on the exit they needed to hold Hefford off. So I think Hefford, next time around, is going to have to try something different. But hats off to Van Gogh. He wins out in the Pro Class. Congratulations to Roger Morton, after his terrible second race, has won in the AM.
Yeah, he has. Roger Morton there. Now you can see the rain come down. PVG is in first with Steve Hefford in second and Jamie Wilson in third. That's your 1, 2, 3 in your pros. Roger Morton wraps up the AM win with Darren McLean in second place, separated by Ralph Cullinan and Dan Hunt. And then the final third was Ollie Ricks, who wraps up the podium. So Alan Toon managed to stay in the top 10. Great job from him, with Pete Newman in 10th, Charles Kellerman in 11th, Andy Littler in 12th, Colin Sanson, Steve Hansford, Darrell Wright and and Fiona Siddons. That does put the top 8, so that does put Ollie Ricks, Dan Hunt on the front row of the grid. A big moment for the AM driver, as well as he's going to be taken to pole position.
I think one saving grace for these drivers now with the warm-up they're having, they have a chance to see how they manage on wet tyres. So this could be a little bit interesting to see who can cope with these conditions and who can't.
Yeah, Darryl Wright, the wet windscreen spooked us all. And Colin Satson joined grid, spots of rain, just enough time to tyre change and pull a blind... I think that's supposed to be blinder, but there's a G in there. Blinker? Well, if that, I don't even know if that's a word, to be honest with you, Colin, if that's what you're trying to say. Okay, so we've now decided that we're going to put rain in. That's a different dimension. We're going to have Pete Van Gaal in the interview room. Let's have a quick chat with Pete as he's taking another podium. 3 out of 3. He's had a first, a second and a third. Pete, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing awesome. That was a good race in that, and I think a couple of people made the mistake of going out on wets because there was a little iRacing glitch when some people went into the pits in the practice or the warm-up or gridding. They had some water on the windshield, so Dan was like, "Oh, I'm going wet," and then he came back out again, and then it was dry again for him. Yeah. So it's kind of strange, but yeah, we managed all right, and we did a little cheeky, slow penultimate lap to get the timer to cross over. So
yeah, and then Steve followed you over the line.
Yeah.
Was there
teamwork
or team orders, Pete? Are you now the Momo team leader?
No, just teamwork, mate.
I
backed off at the start of the race to kind of pick up Steve, and then we went for it.
Yeah, well, you did a great job there, mate. You've had a first, a second, and a third. What am I hoping from race number 4? You've got all podium spots this evening. Are we gonna see something?
This is gonna be a wet race, so this is gonna be new for everyone. Especially for those who haven't put practice in, but this is going to be a completely different race with different racing lines, because the original racing line is going to be really slippery because there's also some rubber on the tarmac there. So I think it's everyone's race. Depends on who's really good in the rain and who's not, and we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it because there's going to be loads of sideways driving there.
I am a bit worried that some of them haven't gone out and practiced, Pete. You know, I'm a little bit scared because the rain does bring a different dimension, especially with some of the puddles that we're looking at now.
Yes, it is a different dimension, but these cars are really easy to drive with the wet tyres in the rain, easy to control when going sideways, so it's just a matter of picking the right line and staying out of trouble, I think. Well,
let's see how you do as we've just followed you around for part and parcels of this lap. Are you comfortable in the rain though, Pete?
Oh yes, it's we've gotten used to it here in the Netherlands because it's been raining ever since October last year here, so I've got lots of practice in the real world. We'll see what I'll do on track here.
All right, mate. Well, good luck, buddy, for race number 4. I'll pop you back up with the Momo boys. Have a good one, and we see how you get on.
Yeah, cheers, lads.
Take care.
Enjoy.
Okay, Pete's in quite high spirits, Tom, considering it's absolutely tipping down up.
Yeah, and the grip is going to change by the second. So all you just see,
Pete Newman, I think that is. Was that Pete Newman?
Yeah, well,
it might have been. No, it was Pete Newman.
Yeah, well, at least he's done that in the warm-up and not in the race. So it's about exploring the conditions and where the grip actually is. And you can just see all the puddles around the course pretty much. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if it gets even worse during the course of the next quarter of an hour. And that's going to make it even more difficult because the wet tyres will be continuing to wear away.
I think that's the thing as well, is Sebring being bumpy, you're going to have puddles. because obviously with the bumps, the rain's going to settle in the bumps, right? Let's bring you up the grid when it changes over. So I think there could be quite a bit of aquaplaning, but we are going to be led away by Ollie Ricks with Dan Hunt, Ralph Cullen and Darren McLean, Roger Morton, Jamie Wilson, Steve Pepper, PVG, Sir Alan Toon, Pete Newman, Charles Kellerman and Andy Littler. Then behind that, Colin Sanson, Steve Hansford, Darryl Wright and Fiona Siddons. We're going to pick up on Ollie Ricks as everybody's getting onto the grid at an absolute rapid rate of knots here. But I think this is the dimensions we're going to see now, Tom, is who's done the practice, who hasn't done the practice, and who's going to be best to cope with the situation, the forecast here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one man we know has not done the practice in that warm-up, who's just been in the booth with us just now. He's feeling confident enough that he can get the job done from 8th position, so we'll see how he does from there. The lights are about to come on, James, so I'll let you do the honours.
Right, here we go now. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the final race of the evening. Here's green. Ollie Ricks does get off the line. There's a big spin up at the back. Oh, there's about 3 cars have gone round. There's Colin Sanson, Andy Littler and Fiona Siddons, and they haven't even gone anywhere. Ollie Ricks managing to hold on here. Then Dan Hunt in second. Ignore the fact that it says Sanson in pole. It's not, I can promise you that. Ricks is all fishtailing along, coming out of turn 1. This is the problem. How many have done the practice, Tom? How many have not?
Well, they've only had time to really get like 1 lap in of practice, or any of them to do. So even though they've done that kind of practice, it's nowhere near enough, because the track conditions are going to change by the second with the amount of rain that's coming down onto the circuit. Ahead of Dan Hunt, so these are the 2 leaders in their respective classes. Ricks in the AM and Hunt in the Pro as they come towards the hairpin turn now.
Yeah, he muscled his way through. You can see the spray is just absolutely going for it. I want to stay on board with Roger Morton as we're coming out of the hairpin up into Fangio now. You can see the spray. Don't forget, he's got 3 cars sprays behind him. He's trying to look. You can barely see. Just see the lights now of Ralph Cullen, and as we're going to get closer, we've got to hit our braking point. You've got to have to bring it back from the first 2. Morton does a great job hanging on to that, but boy oh boy, you've got to bring your braking point back a little bit from race numbers 1, 2 and 3 because of the dry. Now we've got the rain. It's a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah, you can just see the spray kicking up now. This is more spray than what we saw in the warm-up after the 3rd race had finished. So it goes back to what I was saying, the amount of grip on the circuit is going to change and get worse and worse and worse unless the rain relents. And we are seeing Steve Hefford making his way through past Morton. He's making the most of the conditions so far. It's got up into 3rd place in class behind Ralph Cunningham and Dan Hunt. And it will be a 6-lap race, I'd reckon, because of the conditions that are taking place. It does say lap 2, but we are in fact on lap 1 as it should be. As the drivers are coming around onto the Almond Straight now. But Sunset Bend is going to be very interesting to see how much grip you can actually find compared to if you went up the inside of someone but not actually getting the traction and speed on the exit as you would do in the dry.
Yeah, Ralph Cullen now on board, and as Steve Hefford, you can see, we've already tipped a couple of curbs. We just saw the nose of Roger Morton come up the inside of us there. Are we going to see more of the Pure Sims driver as we wait patiently, looking out the top on the roll bar of Ralph's MX5? It doesn't look like we're going to see any more of Roger Morton. He didn't manage to hold on and stay alongside us here. There will be a switch around very soon on that timing tower, guys. I do apologise, but it's where they had the incident at the beginning. Colin Sanson did not cross the line. He jumped back to the straight, the pits, and unfortunately the timing tower thought he'd already gone round and is taking 1st place. So you'll have to bear with on that one. Hopefully it will correct itself here, but at the moment it's still Dan Hunt out in the front with Ollie Ricks, who seemed to have settled in a little bit. Not so much fishtailing from Ollie Ricks this time around.
No, and he's not having to rush it either, because the next driver behind him in the same class as he is a couple of positions or 3 positions back from where he is. So Ricks doesn't need to rush it at this early stage. He just needs to understand the conditions in that Mazda MX-5 and just go with the flow and just hold it on from there. But Dan Hunt doing a super job, and someone's gone straight on. It's McLean then. McLean's gone straight on.
Yeah, Darren McLean has unfortunately got it all wrong at the hairpin. We will have a look, try and grab a quick look at that start now. You can see McLean, he's just, wow, that is hitting the brakes so much that you just end up having to go round. Can he get it on the concrete? He can. He should be able to get it up and running. While there's a bit of a lull, we'll have a look back and see if we can find out where the problem lies on the start. There's Colin Sanson. Oh, that is Andy Littler. Unfortunately, Andy Littler just got it all wrong. That is too much power too early in a car in the rain there, Tom, and it just ain't going to happen.
Got far too much wheel spin and just took Sanson with him, did Littler, and he's also back in the pits as well. So Littler and Sanson no longer in this race. Fiona Sildens was able to continue. She didn't actually make contact with either of them. I think she just stopped at the scene and just waited for a gap to form so that she was able to get through. She's still in the race. She's behind Charles Kellerman for position, and Sir Alan Toombs another 3 seconds up the road from those two. But Ollie Ricks is able to fend off Steve Hefford behind as Ollie Ricks Dan Hunt is able to pull clear more and more by a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried that obviously the timing software reacts to what's being sent from iRacing at the moment. So if all of a sudden iRacing have determined that Colin Sanson is out in front, well, I'm hoping it won't do that, but we will see how it all pans out. Hopefully at some point it should correct itself. We'll try and give it a little bit of a refresh to get it up and running, but you can tell now that rain in race 4 has claimed quite a lot of victims already. Andy Littler's been up again, Sir Alan Toon, Charles Kellerman, Darren McLean, Tooney again, and PVG has also had a moment. A man with 3 podiums already. Doesn't look like he's going to get one. Oh, too fast as he's come straight across the nose of Jamie Wilson. He did declare in the interview he loves the rain, but it ain't going so well, Tom.
No, and he just completely missed his braking bite. You can just see the timing tower has updated itself correctly now. So, although Sanson is still not ahead of Sir Alan Toombs, so it's not exactly 100% correct, but it is more accurate than what it was a moment ago. So Dan Hunt rightfully in the lead ahead of Steve Hefford by nearly 3 seconds. But it's going to be a matter of who can master these conditions for the next 8 minutes or so and who doesn't. And it looks like Dan Hunt is one of those that's able to be equipping himself rather well.
Yeah, I think he's obviously clearly done the practice here. So these guys are having a bit of a tough time. Roger Morton has got Ralph Cullen, and that's what we're looking at the moment. Fiona Siddons is having a nice battle with Colin Sansom as he's trying to come through the field. That's Charles Kellerman in front of us. Colin's car does not look the most healthiest, mind you. As we're going to have a look back from Charles Kellerman's car, you can see the front end of Colin Sansom's machine is a little bit worse for wear at the moment, should we say, Tom?
Yeah, where's Kellerman's pace from where he was? Because he won one of the first 2 races, didn't he, earlier on? And he's dropped a lot of time. He's lost a lot of confidence, clearly. We're just looking back at who's that behind him. Well, I can say that it's not Colin Sanson.
It is Sanson.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there must have been a bit of a misjudgment with the timing tower then. But yeah, Kellerman's pace has dropped from about an hour ago, and it's just not the same car as what it was earlier.
No, it isn't, and I think that's the thing, but rain is one of them equalisers that does that. It looks like Newman's gone off the side of the circuit. The Pure Sims 118 machine. Oh, I can say if he's going to hit some curb here. This is, yes, a little bit of curb, a little bit of slide, overcorrection, and unfortunately Pete Newman has gone around. So he's dropped all the way down into 10th. Colin Sanson, Charles Kellerman still going at it. Cullinan and Morton still going at it. The front 4 before that, though, the likes of Steve Hefford, Ollie Ricks, is that they're a little bit more comfortable than some of these guys, I think, already, as these guys are continuing to fight.
Pete Van Gool's gap to Jamie Wilson is 8 seconds. And Van Gool, who we hoped that he would be fighting in with this lot, he didn't get the practice in during the warm-up. And he's not making any ground.
No.
Yeah.
He's not shifted his way forward as much as he said he was going to. He said he liked the rain, and he's been out there on the racetrack as well, Tom. So I'm a little bit surprised that he hasn't made more of a gain on these two, to be blatantly honest.
No, and he's going to have a tough time of it unless we see any drivers falling off the road. And Pete Newman has gone off again, and he's actually in the
He's
pits.
in
It looks
pits
like
now.
his race is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some people just don't like rain. That's the thing. Some people do, some people don't. You were never ever going to be, when it was introduced, it was never going to ever please everyone. But, you know, some of these guys are looking like they've settled in really well. The likes of Dan Hunt, Steve Pfefford, Ollie Ricks has obviously been out, done some practice. He's got more on closing in. It looks like he's been out in the rain as well. Then Wilson and Cullinan not far back, so we still could have a little bit of a battle for the AM lead. Ollie Ricks and Morton are 1-2 at the moment in the AMs as we've got 5 minutes remaining.
Newman was able to rejoin the race. I don't know if he changed tyres in the pits, but you can just see the cars are squirming around more and more and more, and that's because we are seeing more and more standing water.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. But then, as I said, the puddles of Sebring, or the puddles, the bumps of Sebring, obviously if there's a bump, there's got to be a dip down before it, right? Because obviously, you know, things aren't level. But that's the issue. When there's a bump, there's going to be a puddle. You can see them all just start gathering at random spots of the race circuit as well. They're not even in a continued line. They are at random spots around the race circuit that we're seeing the puddles. You know, on the left-hand side, on the right there, you can see how separated they are. And you can see the spray coming off the car in front, where Ollie Ricks can't really see a lot coming off with the spray as he's coming into Sunset. This is kind of a point shoot, and that's it. Look at all through Sunset, where it's the most bumpiest. Look at the correction that Ollie Ricks has had to do to try and save that.
Yeah, I have to say full marks for control into Sunset from Ollie Ricks as he makes his way down the pit straight once more. Still ahead of Roger Morton, but only just. He's only less than a couple of tenths, and he's going to have to go defensive here.
Yeah, he's going to have to. Morton's going to try the inside line, but you can see the random spots go with the random bumps that we have at Sebring. Ollie Ricks, oh, there's one right in the middle of the corner exit there. Coming out of turn one, there's a big old puddle. 3 minutes to go. It's just, Ricks again. You can see the car already thought about sliding. He really should try and stay off the curbs if he can, because that's probably not going to help. As Steve Hansford and Pete Newman has gone off, and Darren McLean as well. It looks like it's all gone off further down the back of the order.
Yeah, I think he's done it at Sunset, Ben. I wonder if he's gone too deep, gone straight on and has rejoined. Looking at the battle still between Morton and Ricks for the AM class. Morton, who won in race 3 in the AM class, is now into the lead of that respective category, and Ricks is having to settle in behind. Van Gogh is still not closing in on Wilson or Cullingham in the fight for the final podium spot in Pro.
Yeah, he's not. It's just not making a difference. It's 7 seconds up the road, but there is Cullinan, there is Wilson in the background. We got Sanson just as we pick him up, and unfortunately he goes into the wall. That is really unfortunate, because I was just about to say they were having a nice little battle further down. Roger Morton has pulled Ollie Ricks into what plans to be about a second to Steve Hempford. You can see it just teetering on a second there, Tom, as these guys are going to be going over the final lap and next time around.
Gap that Hunt has over Hefford is over 5 seconds. It looks like a foregone conclusion, it's safe to say, with Dan Hunt doing very, very well, equipping himself to the conditions very, very nicely. And Roger Morton, after getting through on Ollie Ricks, he just needs to keep it on the island now and ensure that a second win in a row in AM is sealed. We want to have a look at the battle between Wilson and Cullinan for P3 in class, because it looks like that is going to go all the way to the end too.
Yeah, these guys continue to fight it out down the Ullman for what will be the penultimate time. You can see Cullinan closing in. You can see Morton getting in with it as well. He's pulled in just below a second over Hereford. He's going to have to be careful. Cullinan's going to pick away. Which way is he going to go? He's not going to go any way, as Wilson is managing to hold on there once again. So Ralph Cullinan and Jamie Wilson staying as they are. What about Steve Ever? The big old puddles. Look at them as well, sloshing through, doing a great job. Morton is pulling Ricks into Hereford. It's now 8 attempts as they go over the final lap of the race.
Yeah, so it looks, well, oh, that's enough. I thought Hereford.
Yes.
At turn 1, James, yeah.
Yeah, he has. Is there a puddle involved? Well, they probably, to be blatantly honest, there's a puddle was all the way through. And, he's just gone all the way round. Couldn't correct it, could Steve? And he's gone down the order. He's still, mind you, in 4th in class, 6th overall. He's got no front bumper whatsoever. He's got massive amounts of airflow on the way up there. You can see his car just looks absolutely battered now, Tom, as he's going around the final lap.
I can say that McLean's just got through on right for position in AM. He's going to be to the final podium position there. But for Hereford, well, he's totally thrown it away by himself into turn 1 when he didn't need to push as hard as he did. Because the only cars he had behind him were Morton and Ricks before the 2 of Wilson and Cullingham. And he's just thrown away a 2nd place finish.
Absolutely. But it's so hard, isn't it? I think, although we say he's thrown it away, just look at the amount of puddles that are nestling over this race circuit. And we saw how bad turn 1 was. Bumpy, puddles everywhere. It was always going to be a problem. And it looked like he did a bump and he just lost the car, and then it was just good night Vienna sideways all the way. Ollie Ricks and Roger Morton battling it out for the lead of the race, but it does look like Dan Hunt is going to wrap it up. He's got 6 seconds up the road. Cam Ricks, Claire Morton coming down the Ullman for the final time here this evening. We'll keep an eye on it just enough as we go into Le Mans before we pick up on Dan Hunt. Let's see what Ollie Ricks can do. Can he get it, Tom, before the end, do we think?
Yeah, well, what I will say is Morton very nearly dropped it before they got to the Ullman Straight a few corners before. That might give Ricks a little bit more of an opportunity, but I think he's going to run out of time to do anything as Dan Hunt is coming around Sunset Bend to take victory in Pro.
Yeah, Dan Hunt is going to come through. You saw Ricks trying to make that move over Morton. Who's going to get the final spot? It looks like Morton might have held on to it, but Dan Hunt is going to come over the line. Here comes Roger Morton. Ollie Ricks tries to tighten it up. He's going to get the run down into the line as well. Ricks has not given up just yet, but it is going to be Roger Morton. Takes another victory. So great job, great night from Roger Morton as everybody else is going to come over the line. And I think you can safely say it's been, well, a very interesting race number 4 with that rain.
It very much was. Steve Hereford didn't even take the checkered flag. He stopped out on the circuit. So I don't even know if he'll get any points for not taking the checkered flag there for Hereford. It's a shame because it was in 2nd place at the beginning of the last lap. And yeah, I don't know what's happened. Is he just pulled to the side and called it quits?
Yeah, I think probably, to be fair, unless he's just cruising around. Cullinan is there. Then we're going to have Darren McLean come over the line for the 3rd place in the AM, with Darrell Wright behind that. Here comes Charles Kellerman coming over the line with Fiona Sid and Steve Hansford and Sir Alan Toon. So very interesting opening round, I think we can safely say, Tom, on from Sebring. You know, we're going on to Watkins Glen next week. That's going to be a very interesting one, especially if we have rain there as well.
Well, given the undulation of that circuit, if it is going to rain, we don't know for certain if it will, but if it is going to rain, that's going to throw certainly another spanner into the mix. And these drivers, well, if this experience is anything to go by, I think they better get some more practice in, both in dry and wet, don't you think? I would be out there as best as we possibly can, because let's face it, it's looking like the random weather system that they are going to get. So, you know, they've got to play it, get the practice in. I think that's going to be the most important thing that these guys are.
to get the practice in, to make sure that they are up to scratch as Alan Toon comes over the line for the final finisher of race number 4. Let's bring you up the results. Dan Hunt is in first with Roger Morton in second. Dan Hunt takes a pro victory. Roger Morton takes the AM victory. 1-2 there, with Ollie Ricks in second in the AMs. And you've got Jamie Wilson, Ralph Cullinan rounding out the podium for the pros. PVG did not make it back. He finished in 6th place with Darren McLean and Darrell Wright battling over the final AM place. And it was Darren McLean who got it there with Charles Kellerman, Fiona Siddon, Steve Hansford to Alan Toon rounding out the top 12. Then, of course, we lost Steve Hefford, Colin Sampson, Pete Newman and Andy Littler there all as well did not finish the race. I think we can safely say race 4 with the rain, Tom, big massive equaliser for everyone.
It was, and Dan Hunt made the most of the conditions, and he was untroubled. Made it very, very simple, and he won out in the end. It was a well-deserved victory for him, and I think it underlines the fact that, you know, wet conditions may not be for everyone, and if it's not for you, well, you probably better get a little bit more practice in before the next race, just in case of the eventuality.
Yeah, I do fully agree there as well. Taken out at the start, lost sim window again. Same as the start of race 2 and Darrell Wright. That's an interesting dynamic with the rain. It definitely is. That's why we're saying probably get some practice in, Darrell, if you can. Yes, sir. It might benefit you as well. But that's going to wrap it up for the evening, guys. It doesn't look like we're going to have anybody jumping in and having a little bit of a chinwag with us. But as always, it's been a very interesting 4 races. Join us next week for Watkins Glen. I've been James Parfitt. I've been alongside Tom Cairnes here this evening. And as always, take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.